Hey everybody, it's me, Angie. I've never made a video before, but I feel that this is important for me to do. I am not a CDL holder. I figured this video would be also good from a outsider looking in that's never driven a truck before. I've never had a CDL, never driven one. However, I have been a dispatcher for many, many years. Yes, I am that dreaded dispatcher. My husband is a CDL holder. He does drive a truck. I've been on the road twice. The first time I went on the road was with the log books, the paper logs. I wanted to go on the road then because I have to know what the drivers feel. I have to know and feel what they feel, experience what they experience, and see what they see when on the road. I've had for many years drivers call me and tell me, things, problems they run into on the road, and I'm on the other end of that phone, and I get it, I understand, I get it, and I don't get it. I didn't get it. Never did. I try to be as empathetic as I could, and I wanted to get it. I wanted to understand, but I never did. So one day I went with my husband for about 3 weeks on the road, and it was with paper logs, and I loved it. It was great fun. We got to see the country and got to do different things, and it was really fun out there, just freeing, I guess I could say. It was freeing to be able to get away and see the country and be a team. I dispatched from the passenger seat, and he drove, and it was really fun. But the reason for this video is my take on the ELD. Ever since the ELD came out, I was on the fence about it. I would sit across the table from other dispatchers and business owners, and I would try to defend it, and I would say, well, these drivers just need to suck it up and quit being babies, and quit crying about it, and they call and say they're tired, and first thing out of my mouth and out of everybody's mouth at the table was they need to plan their trip better. Well, I'm here to tell you I was wrong. I was completely wrong, and I'll never let that spill out of my mouth again. I decided to go and take 2 weeks and go back out with my husband to be able to experience the Elog. I have to be able to know when my drivers call me that I can say I get it, and I actually do get it because I was there. I done it. And so we went out for 2 weeks. The first night that we laid down, the next day we got up, I was exhausted. I was exhausted the entire 2 weeks. That 14-hour clock is horrible. It makes you shut down 6 o'clock in the afternoon. You're not tired. You're not ready to shut down. You sit in a truck stop parking lot and you stare out the window. The boredom killed me. I almost died with boredom. Then you try to go to sleep. Sun goes down. You're still not tired. You try to go to sleep. You stare at the ceiling, begging just to fall asleep. And then come, whatever time, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, your clock starts again, and you finally got to sleep, a few hours before that, and then you're up driving again, and then the sun comes up and you're exhausted and you can't stop and take a nap because your clock's ticking. So you drive exhausted. The biggest thing I took out of this is driver fatigue is killing these drivers. I mean, it's running rampant. I was so exhausted, and I wasn't even the one driving, and sometimes I just didn't know how he did it. But he couldn't stop. He was fighting that clock. He couldn't stop. With the paper logs, that's all you ever heard. You always heard that driver fatigue, you know, logbook violations. But I'm here to tell you that these e-logs, you can't audit for driver fatigue on the e-logs. I mean, how can anybody force these drivers to go to sleep and get up and go to work when nobody knows their bodies better than they do? Nobody knows them better than they do. They're not children. They know how to do their job. They know when to shut down and go to sleep. They know when to get up and when they can drive. It blows my mind with these 14-hour clocks, because I just sat and stared at that clock, tick tock, all day long, thinking, oh no, it's about to run out and we've got to shut down and it's only 6 o'clock, and oh my gosh, we're going to have to sit here and die of boredom. And all the accidents that I seen, of all my years in the trucking business, I've never seen so many accidents in my life, and it's so disheartening that you see a truck turned over, and then 5 miles past that there's another truck turned over, and then there's one hit one head on, and you know, one's rear-ended one, and I mean, you see it all over Facebook, all over the news, all the time now. It's just it's one accident after another, and I get why. These guys are forced to drive tired. And the guys in D.C., whoever's making this law and enforcing this, has no clue what they're doing. And they've never been in a truck, and if they have, it's been so long ago, their opinions mean nothing to me. I learned that because I thought my opinion mattered until I went out on the road with these e-logs. And if you haven't been on the road with these e-logs, you have no idea what you're talking about. You just don't, if you haven't experienced them. Now, I'm not completely against the e-logs. I think that that they're a good tool. You know, all the paperwork and everything, and all, you know, worrying about if their logbooks are right, worrying about the liability. And I mean liability because these drivers take on a huge liability when they're out there, and if their logbooks aren't right and they get in an accident, what's the first thing the DOT officer is going to say? Well, you shouldn't have been at this spot at this moment in time. And they could be held liable, and God forbid if there was a death, they could go to prison. So that is the good thing about the ELD, is it does take a lot of the liability off the driver, but the hours of service were meant to protect the driver, not harm the driver. And these guys in DC, and they're doing nothing but harming these drivers. They really need to take a closer look. How many more drivers are going to have to die before they do something, before they change these hours of service? When I was out the first time, it was so freeing, and it was so nice and fun, and there was nobody looking over our shoulders and telling us, you know, what we had to do and what we couldn't do, and when we had to go to sleep and when we had to get up. And I mean, yeah, to an extent, to keep your logbooks legal, but overall, I mean, it was freeing. It was not fun this time. The e-logs just, it felt like that there was somebody right there over your shoulder saying, I don't care if you're tired or not, you're shutting down, you're going to sleep, you know, you're getting up, I don't care if you've had a good night's sleep or not, You're getting up and you're driving tired, and there's no way to prove otherwise. You know, there's no way on the ELog that can prove driver fatigue. And it's scary, and I was always the first one wanting to go out on the road, but I wouldn't do it no more. I wouldn't go out anymore. It's not fun anymore. It's dangerous to me. I wouldn't do it, and that's the saddest thing, because all my life since I was 5 years old, I've loved big trucks, and it's a sad day for me. You guys in DC, you need to get your act together, because I'm sick and tired of seeing these drivers die one after the other because you don't have a clue as to what you're doing. Like I said, I'm an outsider too. I'm the one that sits across that desk, and I'm the one that dispatches drivers. I'm the one that has no clue, but I took 2 weeks, and I made myself have a clue. I made myself make sure that when that driver calls me, I can say, I get it. I understand. I understand now why you're tired. And I will never say, plan your route better, ever, to them again. I get it. And I get how dangerous that the people sitting behind those desks in DC that don't have a clue, that think they know better about how you run your business and how you run your truck better than you do. And I'm astounded at the difference, the ELog. I still think the ELog's a good tool, but I think these guys have really jacked up the hours of service, the 14-hour clock. That is just insane that these drivers have to deal with now. I don't know what else to say. I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed of the head of the transportation department. I'm ashamed of any of you guys in Congress and DC that did not think this out clearly. But how could you? Because you don't have a clue. You have no idea. You really need to get somebody in there that knows what they're doing, because I'm sick and tired of my guys getting hurt and dying out there. And don't forget, without them, this country comes to a stop. So please, in DC, stop listening to the ATA. They're only in it for their own gain. I don't know much about them. I don't really care, because from what I've seen, they do not do anything for the small business trucking, for the real truck drivers, for the independent owners, for the small trucking companies. They do nothing. They are all about themselves. And that's just my opinion. I'm just a small dispatcher in a small small town. What do I know? But I had to find out for myself, to make me a better business owner, to make me a better dispatcher, to finally understand what my guys are going through. To all you truck drivers out there, I hope they fix this for you. I'm sorry that you have to deal with this kind of change, because it is a huge culture shock. Like I said, I think the ELD is a good tool, but I do not agree with that 14-hour clock. I do not agree with it at all. And I'm sorry you guys have to deal with this. DC, I hope you fix it. I hope you do something, and do something quick. That's all I have to say. Thank you for listening.